Since its foundation in 1913, Waldzug has been committed to building a sustainable future through the manufacturing of long-lasting kitchen and textile care appliances and responsible carbon-neutral production. It means the Swiss firm is well placed to tackle the topic of timelessness in design. And that's exactly what it will do across 3 special episodes of Monocle on Design. The second episode airs on Wednesday 29th of May. We'll hear from designers including Andrea Caputo, Philippe Malouin and Sabine Marcellus.
I think it's about getting input from a diverse source, and then hopefully the outcome is then something surprising and unexpected and not like what a lot of other people are doing.
So tune in for some essential discussion on ensuring quality and longevity are imbued in our homes and workplace with Waldzug.
This is Monocle on Design Extra. It's a short programme to accompany our weekly show where we discuss everything from architecture and craft to furniture and fashion. I'm Maylie Evans. London Craft Week is underway with events taking place across the city and featuring over 750 established and emerging makers, designers and galleries from across the globe. One addition to this year's lineup is Craftworks, a free exhibition showcasing the best of arts, crafts and design to the public. Housed at Shoreditch Town Hall in the east of the metropolis, I went along to meet some of the people involved.
Our beautiful buildings, the things we wear, things we have in our house, whether they be functional or whether they be objects of beauty. Craft is everywhere and it's really meaningful. My name is Debbie Pocock and I am the CEO of Quest. Quest is a charity. It stands for the Queen Elizabeth Scholarship Trust and we were set up in 1990. We give money to individual craftspeople to fund their training, education of their craft skills. We passionately believe in that pipeline of creative and craft talent. We have to fund training and education so people can evolve their skills. And we need to make sure that we do inspire that next generation. Showcases like Craftworks, bringing individual makers but bringing partners together as well. That elevates the conversation around craft and the individual makers and talent.
What is the biggest challenge for those working craft at the moment?
Access to market is always a challenge for any maker. Some will be happy selling on platforms like Etsy. Some craftspeople would say, actually, my work works better when you can see it. One of the things that I think we hear a lot is makers, designers, incredibly skilled at making things, sometimes business skills. It's not their forte, but of course, in order to be successful, you do need to be commercially savvy. You do need to understand what your brand value is, your narrative. People really want to understand where a particular piece has come from. What was the inspiration? What are the materials they've used? What are the processes? What's the story behind it? What's the maker's journey to that point? Because makers put so much into their pieces.
Coming to an event like this, a maker who maybe isn't so versed in business savvy starts to understand maybe where they sit within the wider industry.
That sort of craft ecosystem. Some makers will have not had that exposure. I really, hope this can continue because I think it will become an important platform.
My name is Kumiko Kihara. I'm the owner of the Field of Tree. I make silver and 24-karat gold jewelry.
For listeners, could you describe what we've got here?
This is called marudai. It's the Japanese braiding called kumihimo. Japanese people usually use it for the silk to put on top of the kimono belt. But I decided to make it in a silver chain. I wanted to make something special for the wearer to wear.
So you're actually braiding silver wire?
Yeah, 8 strings of bobbins hanging outside of it. And then in the middle, there's like a little hole. The braided metals go through the hole. and there is a weight underneath so that they're going to keep the tension, so it's going to be quite neat.
And you've also got a sample book here showcasing different examples and ways of making the braiding.
There is a different way of moving the bobbins, the amount of wires or thread that you are using, the order of the thread, the movement of the bobbins make different patterns. So some of them are very round, and some of them are like a bit squarish, and some of them are a bit flat. So a very simple method, but there's only the way of the bobbin movement to change the absolutely different kind of pattern and the shape.
And why did you decide to be part of Craftworks this year?
I established quite a long time ago, but I had a massive gap in between, 15 years. Life took over, and my daughter said, "Mom, what are you doing with those jewelries in the box?" My daughter just set up the Etsy account to start with. From then, I just developed, and the people started buying from me. I've got a proper website, and I had a scholarship from the Queen Elizabeth Trust. I was trying to do Japanese wax called Mitsuro Hikime, which is a very traditional technique. So I'm very lucky that they gave me the scholarship to go to see the master in Japan.
At the moment we've got 3 displays on. We've got Angus doing engraving to my left, and to my right we've got Duncan, who is cleaning a clock traditionally by hand, using essence of renata, inspecting all the parts and then applying them. I'm Jack Prendergast. I'm a BCU lecturer in horology, which is clock and watchmaking. With me, I'm trying to achieve a black polish on a watch part. Black polish is a high quality finish where the light reflects all in one direction, so it comes across as like a dark black. I'm doing that through various lapping pastes and stuff like that on a zinc block with a polishing jig.
Why do you think it's important to showcase these skills out to the public for other makers?
Mainly bringing awareness to get people involved. We're part of a dying craft. Not many people are taking it up compared to the demands that are out there in society. With culture moving away towards a more digital sphere, people aren't having the hand skills, but there's a great desire in that for people to actually do these trades and crafts, and there's a need for it to preserve them and preserve the techniques.
For this Craftworks show, I wanted to do an installation on a new commission I've been working on, which is looking at the sort of history of indigo. I'm Majida Clark, and I'm a weaver, a textile artist. I'm based in London, in Bloomsbury. I mainly do private commissioned work, but I also do public installations and collaborations. So I've worked with Fortnum & Mason, I make blankets with British Mills, and I work with weavers in Bengal, in Dhaka as well. We have a sense of indigo as being something from Japan or the Far East, and reappropriating it because the actual linguistic origin of the word indigo is indikon, and it's from the ancient Greeks, and it means the plant from India. And so the origin of indigo is Indian, but it lost its sort of 1,000-year-old history, got appropriated by the East India Company. So it has a sort of very bloody colonial history to it. There's a famous revolt, the Bengal Indigo Revolt, and it was basically fighting against the East India Company and the British planters and European planters who would rather they planted indigo to feed a European market than plant food. I'm Bengali, so for me it's part of my family history as well. But also for me, I wanted to look at the value of indigo and how it has this incredible value in Asia. They used to call it blue gold because of the precious commodity that it was. I went to Japan recently and we worked with indigo with a sort of master weaver, and I wanted to look at this story of the journey of indigo around Asia through the Silk Road, but also to the West. What I wanted to do was really reappropriate this story of indigo as something to do with denim and the modern Western concept, and actually look at what it was in Asian culture. Indigo has antimicrobacterial qualities. People used to wear it because you could protect yourself from mosquitoes. In this installation, I've got an Edo period child samurai jacket that was part of the inspiration, actually. And this is sort of 200-year-old piece, worn because it protected them from insect bites. Now we revere it for its patina, but it also had really practical purposes. So what this installation does is look at the interconnection between Asian Japanese culture and Asian Indian culture, and how actually we have different words but the same concept and the same techniques. I've also got a canter stitch antique jacket, which would have been an old indigo fabric that got repurposed and stitched with a technique called canter. In Japan they call it shishiko, in India they call it canter, but it's the same technique and it has the same purpose, which is to reuse, reinvent and give material longevity. I like to sort of always have a presence in London Craft Week because I really want to celebrate craft in London. It's got this sort of undercurrent of makers, who are quietly working away in studios. And it's really nice to sort of bring that to the fore and say, actually, people work with their hands here, and we work in quite traditional crafts. But what we're trying to do with those traditional crafts is modernise it, give this sort of really exciting slant. The technique is thousands of years old, but the actual stories that we're telling, the designs that we're doing, and the methods that we're using are actually really modern and exciting. And when it comes together in a show, you get to see everybody else and what everybody else is doing, so you're not trapped in your little studio with your head down, thinking about your own narratives and stories. There's so many exciting, interesting stories being told here.
That was the weaver Majida Clark, and before that you heard from Kamika Kihara, Jack Prendergast and Debbie Pocock. Craftworks wraps on the 17th of May, but London Craft Week continues with various events across the city until the 19th of May, so do check out their website for full listings. That's all for this week. If you're eager for more design stories, you can listen to our main programme, Monocle on Design, airing on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. London time. Or if you prefer print, you can pick up a copy of Monocle magazine. It's on all good newsstands now. Today's episode was produced by me, Maylie Evans. Thank you very much for listening.